There was a time you could buy a computer, change nothing, write zero new code, and 2 years later, your programs ran twice as fast. Twice. For free. That deal ran from 1975 to roughly 2005. An engineer named Gordon Moore noticed it first. The number of transistors on a chip had been doubling at a suspicious, almost clockwork rate, and he bet it would keep going. The whole industry decided to keep that promise. And for 30 years, it did. But nobody talked about what the deal was quietly doing to software engineers. It was teaching them not to care. Why tighten your code when next year's chip will tighten it for you? Then, around 2006, the deal broke. And the thing that broke it wasn't size. It was heat. So if the limit was never about how small we could make a transistor, what actually ended the deal? And what does that mean for every line of code written in the last 20 years? Most people file Moore's law under hardware trivia, a number that doubles. Interesting, irrelevant. That's a mistake. Because for 50 years, that number governed how all software got built. Go back to 1965. Moore writes a short article. He notices the transistors you can pack onto a chip have been doubling at a steady, almost suspicious rate, and he predicts it'll keep going. 10 years later, he refines it, roughly a doubling every 2 years. That's it. That's the law. It was never physics. It was an observation that slowly hardened into a promise. And for a while, more transistors meant something beautifully simple, more speed. Smaller transistors switched faster, sipped less power each, and you could cram in more of them. Density up, performance up, clock speed up, all at once. Here's the part that mattered for the rest of us. Developers didn't have to do anything. The same program, untouched, ran faster on next year's silicon. The hardware was a tide. Every boat rose. That was the real contract. Hardware engineers promised exponential improvement. Software engineers promised nothing back. They could spend the gains however they liked, and mostly they spent them on convenience. More layers, more abstraction, more will fix the performance later. It was a subsidy, a 50-year subsidy on carelessness, and like every subsidy, it shaped behavior. For 30 years, it felt infinite. But it was never infinite. It was riding on a second, quieter rule, and that rule was about to break first. The quiet rule had a name, Dennard scaling, and it's the real engine underneath Moore's law. Robert Dennard's insight back in 1974 was that as transistors got smaller, you could also lower their voltage. So even though you were packing in twice as many, the power per unit of area stayed roughly flat. Twice the transistors, same heat. That's why the doubling was free, not just in space, in thermals. Around 2006, that broke. Transistors got so small, you couldn't keep dropping the voltage. Leakage, physics, the electrons just stopped cooperating. So now, when you doubled the transistors, the power didn't stay flat. It climbed. Heat packed into every square millimeter started rising with every shrink. The industry hit what we now call the power wall. And this is the twist most explanations miss. The limit was never really about how small we could make a transistor. We can still make them smaller. The limit is that the chip would cook itself. Think of an engine. The problem was never we can't add more horsepower. We absolutely can. The problem is that past a certain point, the engine melts the hood. More power, same space, nowhere for the heat to go. So clock speeds, the gigahertz number everyone used to brag about, just stopped climbing. We'd been sitting at 3-4 gigahertz for years, and honestly, we're roughly still there. Instead of running one engine hotter, the industry did the only thing it could. It bolted on more engines, more cores. Multi-core was never a victory lap, just a workaround. An admission that the free ride on frequency was over. Remember the setup. The limit wasn't size, it was heat. And now that heat had won, the economics of the chip business changed forever. With Dennard scaling gone, Moore's original doubling didn't die overnight. It limped, the cadence slowed. Doublings that used to take 2 years stretched out, and the gains per generation shrank. Meanwhile, the economics turned brutal. Each new manufacturing node now costs billions of dollars to develop, and the number of companies that can even afford to play has collapsed to a handful. Now connect that to something uncomfortable. There's a counterpart to Moore's law, half joke, half indictment, called Wirth's law. Software gets slower faster than hardware gets faster. For decades, that was survivable. Software bloated, but hardware bloated right back to cover it. The two laws were locked in a quiet truce. Waste expanded to fill the speed available. But now the hardware curve is flattening and the bloat isn't. So for the first time in 50 years, there's no free gain left to eat. The waste is suddenly visible. It has a price tag again. Picture a student who never studies, because the professor always tacks on a curve at the end. Every exam, free points. Why prepare? That bonus was Moore's law. And now the professor has retired. The curve is gone. The exam is tomorrow, and the student never learned the material. If this kind of breakdown is useful, you can support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a member. So if you can't just make the single chip faster anymore, what do you do? The industry's answer comes in 4 parts. 1. More cores. If you can't make one engine faster, run many in parallel. The catch is that most software was never written to split itself across cores. Parallelism is hard. 2. Specialization. A graphics chip built for one narrow job, drawing pixels, turned out to be monstrously good at the math behind modern AI. GPUs, TPUs, NPUs, chips designed for a single kind of work and ruthless at it. 3. Chiplets. Instead of one giant, perfect die, you build small, specialized tiles and stitch them together. AMD's Ryzen 7000, Intel's Meteor Lake. It's the chip equivalent of shipping container standardization, smaller pieces assembled at the port. But underneath all 4 of these, there's one shift that matters more than the rest. The metric changed. For 50 years, the question was, how fast? Now the question is, how fast per watt? That's why architectures built around efficiency, ARM being the obvious example, are eating territory that x86 owned for decades. Tech Insights data, as reported by Tom's Hardware, projects ARM could reach around 40% of laptops by 2029. And the broader market is drifting the same way, with ARM's share climbing steadily in notebooks and servers as efficiency becomes the metric that matters in a post-Dennard world. It isn't a straight line. x86 has answered with its own efficiency gains, and AMD's resurgence proves the incumbents aren't standing still. But the direction is clear. And how that specific war plays out, that's a story for another video. For 50 years, the careless engineer survived. You could ship slow, heavy, wasteful code, and the rising tide of hardware would float it anyway. The market couldn't easily tell the difference between an engineer who understood the machine and one who just leaned on it. And if we're honest, most of us spent those years writing the bloated code. We were the student who never studied. Not out of laziness exactly, out of rationality. Why prepare for an exam the professor always curves? The hardware kept bailing us out. We just didn't know it was the last semester. Now the tide is going out. And when the tide goes out, you finally see who was actually swimming. In the post-Moore world, the gains don't come from waiting. They come from understanding the hardware. What's sometimes called mechanical sympathy. Writing code that respects how the machine actually works. Fewer layers, tighter loops, less waste. Most modern software isn't better than the software of 20 years ago. It's often worse. We just had hardware powerful enough to hide our bad decisions. Moore's Law wasn't only a gift. It was a mask. The end of that subsidy feels like bad news. For lazy code, it is. But for the engineers who actually learned the craft, who never needed the hardware to bail them out, it isn't a loss. It's a vindication. So that's the arc. A 50-year subsidy that made hardware forgive everything. The crack, heat, not size, that ended Dennard scaling. The curve that flattened, and 4 exits, all of them pointing back to the one skill the subsidy let us forget. Efficiency. Hardware stopped bailing us out, and the engineers who win now are the ones who never needed it to. Because here's the thing about all that hard-won power. Moore's Law gave us the engine. Decades of hardware engineers, sweat, and silicon building a motor that got exponentially stronger year after year. And what did we do with it? We bolted a lead body on top. Every gram of power those engineers earned, the software quietly devoured. The engine kept getting stronger, and the car kept getting heavier, just as fast. If you want to see exactly how that happened, how all that exponential horsepower got swallowed, gram by gram, there's one place it shows up more clearly than anywhere else. Watch this next. How the web got 5x heavier in 14 years.